any proposal that Paul makes will be painted, factually, from the perspective of those who disagree with it, as cutting benefits over the long term. Paul, I don't think you disagree with that, that there is a political vulnerability to doing anything that tinkers with Medicare. And that's probably the biggest savings that are obtained through Paul's plan. And I raise that not because we shouldn't have a serious discussion about it. I raise that because we're not going to be able to do anything about any of these entitlements if what we do is characterize whatever proposals are put out there as, well, you know, that's the other party is being irresponsible. The other party's trying to hurt our senior citizens. That the other party is doing X, Y, Z. That's why I say, if we're going to frame these debates in ways that allow us to solve them, then we can't start off by figuring out A, who's to blame, B, how can we make the American people afraid of the other side? And unfortunately, that's how our politics works right now. That's how a lot of our discussion works. That's how we start off every time somebody speaks in Congress. The first thing they do, they stand up and all the talking points, you know, I see Frank Lutz up here sitting in the front. He's already polled it, and he said, you know, the way you're really going to, I've done a focus group, and, you know, the way we're going to really box in Obama on this one or make Pelosi look bad on that one. I know, I like Frank. We've had conversations between Frank and I, but that's how we operate. It's all tactics. And it's not solving problems. And so the question is, at what point can we have a serious conversation about Medicare and its long-term liability, or a serious question about a serious conversation about Social Security, or a serious conversation about budget and debt, in which we're not simply trying to position ourselves politically. That's what I'm committed to doing. We won't agree all the time in getting it done, but I'm committed to doing it.
Take one more.
You know, I've already gone over time.
He's gone way over, gentlemen.
But I'll be happy to take your question, Congressman, offline.
Yeah.
You can give me a call.
Gentlemen,
all right. Thank you, everybody. God
thank
bless
the President of the United
God bless
States.
the United States of America. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate you.
President Obama spending about an hour and a half with House Republicans at their
legislative retreat in Baltimore, an unusual but not unheard of event where a president visits with members of the other party, especially in such a long format. We had anticipated just hearing from the president, just seeing his remarks, but the White House and Republican leaders opened it up to C-SPAN cameras, the entire event, and we thank them for that. And we're opening our phone lines to you for your reaction. 202-585-3885 for Democrats. Republicans, it's 202-585-3886. Independents and others, 202-585-3887. Here's our plan. We will show you the remainder of this as the president leaves, and then wait for Republican news conference. We're expecting any moment to start. We'll bring that to you live and take phone calls while we do. Mike Pence earlier today, the Republican chair, the conference chair, said, we hope to have a serious conversation with the president about our proposals. So what do you think? Was the conversation serious? First up, Harrison on our Democrats line. Go ahead.
Hi. All I have to say is way to go, Obama. Taking questions from the opposition is a basic part of so many other democracies, and C-SPAN actually shows the British Prime Minister's question time very often. And in fact, the British are actually compelling British Prime Minister Blair to answer questions under oath about the lies he told the British people in order to get the British involved in the illegal Iraq war.
Harrison talking about the testimony today of Tony Blair, the former British Prime Minister, before the Iraq War inquiry. You'll see that later in our schedule. And also you'll see this event with President Obama and Republicans later in our schedule here on C-SPAN, 8 p.m. Eastern. New York, Abraham on our Republican line. Hi there. New York, you're next. Go ahead. We'll go to Springfield, Illinois. Craig, you're on the line. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hi there, you're up.
Yeah, I really appreciate his sincerity. He seems to really get it. He seems to understand what everybody's thinking about. And the one thing I wanted to really reiterate was we've got to unify in this country. All these battles and everything is just ruining the country. I think the political, just all this bickering and all. Let's just get together and work this out and get it all done.
Let's hear a Republican view. Morris is in Philadelphia. What do you think there, Morris? What did you think about the president's comments and the questions from the 7 or 8 Republican members of the House?
It was very, very useful. And if there's any Republicans out there that are truly watching how this works, it looks like an ultimate fencing match where the president is actually clinging the fence of the opponent and said, please engage me. And Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill did it quite well, to the effect that Reagan had 2 terms in office, Tip O'Neill stayed in office, and many things got done in that period. What I hope to find with fellow Republicans out there are serious people who will engage this president.
What about the tone of the president? Is this different from his tone in the past year, especially toward Republicans?
I tend to think that the president is finally realizing that he is facing stiff opposition, and he will continue to get that. But what I certainly would hope is that Republicans will, on my side of the fence, will go about the business of engaging him point by point, line by line.
And the president said that he said something to the effect of, we have to close the rhetoric with reality. Politico writing today that a question moving forward is whether Republicans should work with President Obama to look at productive ways or stay unified against him to prevent Democrats from any election year gains. Next up is Baltimore. This is Walker on our Independence line. The Republicans and the president in your town. What did you think of the event?
I really appreciated you, C-SPAN. I'm disappointed that you have stopped broadcasting the weekly press release from the president, the presidential weekly address. I'm really disappointed in C-SPAN for doing that. But
just to let you know, Walker, we do have weekly coverage of the president's address and the Republican response. But go ahead with your comments.
Well, I haven't seen it, but my comment is that I thank him for coming to Baltimore. Again, he was very effective in trying to reach across the aisle. He asked them one simple thing, as I've asked some of my Republican friends, African American and white, to stop putting words in people's mouths. You can't ask me a question by giving me your answer. And when he addresses that, each time he does it, the Republicans continue to try and put words in his mouth.
Thanks for your views. And we go next to Union, New Jersey. And is this Felicia or Felix? I can't quite tell. The spaces run out. Go ahead. Who's this on the line from Union City?
Brown, Union, New Jersey. I just want to say that I was so proud of what President Obama said, and even in his State of the Union address, he said, we should think about more on the American people than on our ambitions. And like Dr. Martin Luther King had a heart for people, he was not popular. And I believe our president has a heart for the people. He's not seeking popularity. And it's easy for someone to judge when they're not walking in the shoes. So I think, as he said, we should come together because it's not about one person. It's about the American people. And I think he did a phenomenal job on the State of the Union and a phenomenal job just now. So
President Obama is spending about an hour and a half with Republicans and extra time here along what they call the rope line. Just to let you know our schedule here, we are hoping to bring you a news conference with House Republican leaders. It's set for right after this event, and then later tonight we'll re-air all of this in its entirety, 8 p.m. Eastern here on C-SPAN. New Lenox, Illinois, this is Joseph on our Republican line. What did you think? New Lenox, Illinois, go ahead.
Thank you. I really appreciate Mr. Obama coming to meet with the Republicans.